Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to another week of Conversations with MM, or that's me, Marivir Montebon. I just got back from Florida, and I've had a wonderful time there with my college friends who had a mini reunion with me after the pandemic. Since the pandemic, it's my first time actually to fly on an airplane. Imagine 3 years. That was very sentimental and kind of dramatic and a breakthrough from my own fear of traveling so far. So that was great. I will tell you more about it because I was able to interview some entrepreneurs in Florida who were able to survive the pandemic through their creativity and through their um, sheer guts and persistence to survive and to have their businesses running. So hang on to that. Stay tuned. But for now, I'm back in New York, and we're going to discuss. Well, we have right now tonight a very promising and a very active millennial who is a teacher and who ran for council for a position at the City Council of New York, District 35. And she is here to talk to us about um, the campaign to mainstream Filipino writers so that we push our FilAm culture to the mainstream of US society. So we're so honored to have with us the lovely and very smart and energetic Deirdre Levy. Hello, Deirdre. Good evening. Thank you
Hi.
for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. So, tell us about the program that you have already spearheaded the Phil teachers in classrooms. This is very interesting and another smart program that you're spearheading, Deirdre.
Well, this is really a collaborative effort.
Mhm.
During, I guess, in late March, we had a Filipinos Rise Up rally in Lower Manhattan,
Mhm.
and we read the calls to action. And one of the calls to action was to bring API curriculum into schools and ensure that Filipino American authors can be in classrooms. Because if we want to stop hate, we need to get at the root cause of where the hate comes from. And
Mhm.
often I've seen that it's because people don't know who Filipinos are or anything about our culture. And as a teacher, I see firsthand from my students um, what they learn
Mhm.
when or how they learn when they're learning about different cultures. So I thought it would be great to do something like this where we would fundraise to get more Filipino books in the classroom. And it's something that I haven't been doing alone. It's something that I'm fortunate enough to have friends to do it with me. So I'm grateful that we're able to do what we've been able to do so far.
That's a very encouraging effort that you're doing. So, what's the name of that group, Deirdre?
Well, it's not like we have a specific group, but it's just
Uh-huh.
our friends that we're
It's a lot
working
of group.
together. It's basically like one of my friends is Aji from Kabisera.
Yes.
Another friend is Paolo from Hatsumomo. He has his brand. And then another friend is Francis Malling, whose brand is Bad for Business Pop-Ups. But you can also find him as the sous chef for the Essex Pearl, which is a new restaurant in
Mhm.
the Essex market. And also, I've talked about this plan with my co-founders at Project Barkada. So really it's a collaborative effort. And I think when you find something that you're passionate about, more people want to join and support as well.
Right. Look at this. I've met you there at Cabicera, and you showed to us this poster, Filipino books in classroom. So these are some of the books. My Pinsons and Me, that means my cousins and me, Fierce Filipina and Journey for Justice. So how does this actually work? When you have these books, do you teach this is it your support as a teacher to use these books?
So these books I've been able to access because I'm fortunate enough that my cousin actually recommended that I get Fierce Filipina, which I have right here. And
Oh,
he had
wow.
I guess, met or spoken with the author about this book, and they sent it to me, and I had access to it. And it was actually interesting because I received the book right before I was taking a kickboxing class, a Muay Thai kickboxing class for the first time in the Lower East Side. The school is Two Bridges Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so excited to take that class because they were hosting in the past, they hosted self-defense workshops for the AAPI community. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
support them. And also they're partially Filipino owned. So it's nice to support um, Filipino businesses, but also doing something that you're passionate about, because I did do Muay Thai when I was younger and it was just so
Mm-hmm.
fun. But right before the class, receiving this book, it was just like, it brought my energy up, and I was just really inspired by the story. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like this is something that we can definitely bring into classrooms. It's a little too advanced for my students, but I was
Mm-hmm.
still able to adapt her story to match the needs of my students, because I am a special education teacher. So we're so used to adapting curriculum. And then my Pinsons and Me, this
Right.
is a book that was recommended to me by a chef who actually is the chef at Tito Papa's, which is also a new Filipino restaurant in Williamsburg,
Mm-hmm.
at the Breakers. And it was Chef JP that connected me with the author, Monica. And she had expressed, like, I'm very interested in reading to schools. And I read her story and I thought it was great because my grandmother's turning 100 this year, and we're planning this huge
Oh
party
my
for
God.
her with my cousins. So the story is so relatable. And
You mean your grandma from mom's side?
yeah,
Or
my Filipino grandma
oh my
who was
God,
born in
congratulations.
Pangasinan. So we're having a huge party for her, and we're very busy planning for that. But basically, also in the book, it displays a lot of teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this was a really nice theme to bring into schools. But it also shows like Filipino food and Filipino. There's a glossary in the back. It talks about like Lola, Lolo. But there's
Is
a
that the
page,
Pinsan book?
yeah, and there's a page that talks about like her favorite types of food. Like it'll talk about lumpia, halo halo, like lots of different like great
Very
food.
interesting.
And I think growing up, if people don't know your food and you're bringing it to school, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they'll judge you. They'll think that it's disgusting. But I feel like this book really does like highlight like the pride in Filipino food. And I think that's what we should really focus on. So I thought these books were great. And then I really started to think, I don't know, it just came to me that it's just really important to elevate our stories. And
Mm-hmm.
everything just came, I guess timing was everything. And
Mm-hmm.
it just seemed very, very in the moment. And one of my friends who did the fundraiser with me, Francis, he's always asking me, like, do you know of any causes that I can support, anything that I can fundraise for? And this time, like, I had something, or we had something that we wanted that was purposeful, and it just made sense. And as a teacher, I feel like Filipino teachers are often neglected. Everyone thinks that the frontline workers are the nurses and the doctors, and definitely they are. They do a lot in our hospitals, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times people don't understand that teachers are frontline workers, and teachers are demanded of so much, and it's a big emotional toll. We solve problems every single day. We diffuse situations. We make sure that children are safe and they're happy.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to give more respect to teachers because we're not respected. And just by having something that we can fundraise, that we can give to teachers, because teachers spend a lot of money on their classrooms, I think that would help teachers, and it would boost morale as well.
Right.
But it would also show that there is representation. I teach students who are not Filipino, but that's
Mm-hmm.
okay because I want them to know my story. I want them to know that when they grow up, that there is a country called the Philippines with lots of different islands, and that Filipino food is not the same as Chinese food. There are so many differences, and it's important that we tell our stories.
Right. I'm interested to find out if like your mom was really very influential, consciously telling you about her heritage. That's why you are so like invested into this. Was it your mom
I
or a
think,
group of cousins?
I think just growing up, my mom was very, she had her community in the church, and that's how I grew up. I'm mixed. My dad is Jewish, but he's not religious. But my mom is a devout Catholic, and
Mhm.
she's like the Hermana Mayor of her
Oh,
Filipino association in St. Michael's. So she has a big role. But growing up, there would be a lot of different Filipino parties. We would celebrate Philippine Independence Day. I would learn some dances. Not that I'm good, but I learned how to
so
sing.
she takes you to those events.
Yes, and I took voice lessons when I was younger. So
Nice.
when I was singing, I learned how to sing Perlas ng Silanganan. So
Oh,
I was very immersed in Filipino
very
culture
good.
growing up in my community in Flushing.
In Flushing, in Queens.
Yes.
Amazing. So, do you have other siblings or are you alone? Are you a single,
Oh,
only
I'm an
child?
only child.
Oh, that's that's amazing. So, kudos to your mom for doing that. Is she still around?
She is. She is still the Hermana Mayor of her
Oh,
Filipinos Association in Flushing. So,
amazing. Good, good. So, let me show this picture, like this one. You're very active in the community. So you're what is this? You were providing some food to you're volunteering here to distribute some food. What was this event?
back in 2020, at the height of the
Mhm.
pandemic, and even into 2021, there was a lot of neighbors that didn't have access to food deliveries or food.
Mhm.
And there are lots of mutual aid organizations that arrange package deliveries. So that's me volunteering with the Clinton Hill
Mm.
mutual aid group in Brooklyn. And that was in my district. So I wanted to make sure that my neighbors had the deliveries that they needed. So that was us packing groceries at the Navy Yard.
This was in the thick of the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Congratulations. You're amazing. You're an amazing FilAm. And this one, what is this? What happened here? This is your dog. I think I saw your dog.
Oh yeah. Well, this was in. It's also in Brooklyn, in my
Mhm.
district. It was at Commodore Barry Park, which is also in the Navy Yard area. And
Oh,
basically, we
okay.
were planting some bulbs for the spring.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm very passionate about sustainability and fresh air, and like even
Hmm.
my platforms, they included fixing food security and ensuring that we had affordable places to live. But a lot of the times, people don't realize that our simple parks, there is so much that we can do with them. And doing something so simple as to plant a bulb within your park to create more oxygen for your neighborhood, it can be very impactful.
Right. Making the air clean is like, right in where you are is very important. As they say, think global, but act local.
Yes.
Yeah, Deirdre, I'm going back to the book that you just showed us, the Fierce Filipina.
Mhm.
Oh, where can we get a copy of that?
So I went directly to the author.
Hmm.
Her
The
name.
author is Glyceria.
So Glyceria was her like great great. I don't know which grandmother, but
Uh-huh.
she's a descendant of
Hmm.
Glyceria. But
I
the
see.
author is Maxi Villavicencio
Uh-huh.
um, FilAm. I hope I'm saying her last name right. But this story was inspired by her. Let me see if it's her great great grandmother. But basically, her ancestor,
Hmm.
she was helping the Philippines. She's from Taal, Batangas, and she was helping the Filipinos. There was a lot of unfair treatment during the Spanish colonial government,
Hmm.
and she wanted to make sure that the Philippines was um, free from any colonial rule, whether it was from the Spanish colonial government or from the United States. And this was a theme that even my first graders were able to comprehend once I adapted it, because I just asked the question, do you think it's fair for another
Hmm.
country to rule over another country? And they said that if they don't live there, why should they have control over people who do live there? So it even though this is a Filipino story about Filipino history,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the themes really come down to social justice issues that we're facing
Right.
in the United States.
It's amazing that you can just really immediately get wisdom from young children, right? They just really think innocently without filters. And so, what grade one children are like 7 years old here?
They're between 6 and 7, so they'll go on to second grade when they're 7 years old.
Okay, so how long have you been teaching, Deirdre?
So this is going to be the end of my 9th year, I guess.
Oh,
If I'm still in the classroom, it'll be 10 years next year. But I first started teaching kids with autism, and
mm-hmm.
in a District 75 setting, so it was more severe cases of autism. But then I guess for the past 3 years, I've been working in a community school, which is not so far away. And I still am a special education teacher. It's just that I am now in an integrated co-teaching model where I have another teacher teaching with me, and I focus on the special education students, but we
Mm-hmm.
teach together to maximize the learning for our students.
So from this sector that you're coming from as a professional, what are the main issues that have to be addressed for teachers' welfare or professional development to be more effective as a teacher? Can you expound on it?
I think that leadership should be very strong. And when it comes
Mhm.
down to leadership, it's coming all the way from City Hall. So
Oh.
a lot of the times, everything that I'm doing is directly influenced by the decision making, the policy making
Hmm.
that is happening in City Hall with our City Council members. And then it gets trickled down into our schools through our principals to our teachers. So, a big reason why I ran for City Council was because I was tired of politicians who had no experience giving me and my coworkers all these directions when they had no idea how to navigate a classroom. And I think it's very important for more teachers to run for office for this
Hmm.
reason. There is a big teacher shortage out there. There's always been a teacher shortage, but even now it's more prevalent because with COVID, it's really impacted the way that we teach.
Hmm.
And I'm lucky that I've been able to adapt. A lot of my coworkers have been able to adapt, but there have been so many emotional issues, and a lot of the times people don't know how to navigate those issues, and it takes a lot of patience to do so. So when it comes down to it, I think any politician that's in office should spend time in the classroom, and not just to take a picture, but to actually teach in the classroom and to be there with the kids to understand what they're going through.
Right. So are you back in the full physical setup now, or you're still blended?
I've always been in the classroom. So right when
Oh,
the
it never
pandemic,
stopped
I
despite
never
COVID?
stopped. I only stopped like right at the height of the pandemic from March 2020 until the summer. But in September 2020, I was back in the classroom. I was running full time for office and teaching in the classroom.
Oh my
So
God.
it's been very challenging. But
How
I'm
did you cope with the fear or the uncertainty that you have to go to school and go home with an infection or something? How did
so
you manage that? It's kind of tough.
yeah, I mean, I wore my mask. I got boosted. Um, I did what I could to do the best I could. A lot of the times it didn't seem like things were guaranteed, but I
Yeah.
mean, I also I also bought a Tesla because I thought, I'm not gonna live my life for so long, and I was very ashamed to admit that I did that, but I don't care anymore because I deserve it. I'm living my life, and I work so hard, and I think that, and it's aligned with my values in terms of sustainability and making sure
Hmm.
that we make more sustainable, conscious choices. But I was running for office. I was going back to into the classroom. I needed something that would help keep me safe. That's what I thought of it when I made that purchase. But that's how I survived. I took care of myself in any
Right.
way that I could, and I made sure that I was around people that would be supportive.
If given the chance, are you going to do another would you seek for another public office? And what lessons would you have applied after this experience?
I think after this experience, everyone asked me like, why did you go into to run for office? And I've always wanted to run for office, but I didn't understand
Mm.
what that meant. And when I think about it and my experience in the past, like I've always been involved in community building, whether
Mhm.
it was in high school or in college. I've always been involved in some kind of student government. In Flushing, I was involved in the Leaders Club. And I really do care about working with the community.
You're
Politics is a
trained.
little,
You're a trained leader.
oh, well, I don't know about
Yeah.
that, but like politics is a little different where you really can't be afraid of hurting anyone's feelings. And
Mm.
that was a little different for me because I wasn't used to how ruthless it could be. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I won't do it because I feel like
Mm.
you should never say never, but I think really timing is everything. And if an opportunity presented itself and if I felt like I was ready, maybe, but I think for the most part, I am really interested in community projects and really working with other community members that have the same goals and want to do the same things as I do. And for one thing, I do really believe that there can be unity within the Filipino community. I mean, we did have it at the Filipinos Rise Up rally. It
Right.
wasn't perfect, but that was an event where a lot of us came together. And I think there are more opportunities where we can come together and collaborate and find ways that we can work together in different capacities.
Yes, correct. Are you also like so invested on the Jewish side of you?
Hold on, I'm sorry, my like alarm went off. Hold on. Hey Google,
Oh,
turn off. I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
Um, yeah. So I haven't, when I was running for office, a lot of people didn't think I was Jewish
Oh,
because some people wouldn't even consider me Jewish because my mom is Catholic, and in
yeah.
the Jewish and Catholic religion, whatever your mom is, you are.
That's your religion. That's your
But
tradition, right?
I would disagree with that, and
Mm.
I've always felt very like self-conscious about that because I just didn't really feel as accepted. But I do have family in Israel, and they've always accepted me. And
You
um,
mean not accepted here
I
in the
mean,
US?
I do have a cousin that's in the U.S. and we do hang out. In fact, I did march in the Celebrate Israel parade on
Mm.
Sunday.
Hmm.
So while I'm not observing the Jewish religion, I mean, I do observe the traditions, and I would consider myself Jewish, culturally Jewish, because it is a part of my identity, and I don't think it's fair to tell somebody who they are and who they aren't. It's up to that person to decide for themselves. But I've always felt a lot more accepted within the Filipino community. But when I think about my Jewish identity, I connect that with my family in Israel because they are my family, and that's a big part of who I am.
So this kind of like you have two cultures in your blood and in at home. Please tell us if this is something like you realize or delve deeper when you were like what age, teenager, or was this a build up that you later synthesized when you were in your adolescent age? How does that how does that happen to somebody with two cultures?
Oh, well, I guess when I did go to Catholic school from
Yeah.
K through 8, and when it came down to confirmation,
Hmm.
I was just thinking, why am I not getting like a bat mitzvah? My other cousin, she got a bat mitzvah. How come I'm not doing this? And my mom was like, well, you're Catholic. And, my mom was kind of mad at me. But my dad really didn't care. He wanted me to do what was best for me. And um, I think I just went with it. But when I was in college, I did go to the University at Albany, and there was Jewish campus life actually, and I was a Jewish life liaison through Hillel, and I went on Birthright, so I was
Mhm.
able to go to Israel with a group, and they did acknowledge that I was Jewish. But when I was with Hillel and I did the Jewish life liaison thing, the purpose of that was to connect Jews who didn't feel accepted or belong. So that was something that was actually perfect for me because I always had that weird sense of belonging in the Jewish community. And like
Yeah.
even later on, I did work with residential life and I became a charge diversity assistant. So I've always been involved in diversity work and making sure that people who didn't feel accepted felt like they belonged.
Amazing. Tell us, how do you view yourself in the intermediate future? What are your prospects? What do you intend to do?
So right now, there's a lot of projects that are happening. We're still doing this classroom books project. In fact, in that picture that you took of the poster I was
Yes,
holding, it said that we
this
had
one.
20 books. So
Uh-huh.
my PTO did purchase 20 books. The author went to my classroom yesterday and spoke to actually our whole school. She read to 300 students, about more
Wow.
than 300 students actually. So that
Miss
was,
Canlas, you're saying?
yes, she
Oh,
did
good.
such a great job. And then yesterday I received 20 copies of Fierce Filipina.
Uh-huh.
So we now have 40 books. And then
Congratulations.
then sorry, I just want to make sure I
It's
get the book.
okay.
At Cabicera, I got this book, and
Salamat po.
yep, so it teaches about respect. So I got
Right.
2 copies of that book, and I read it to my students, and they were mimicking the words I was saying. So,
So
like
good.
I said, Paralan, I'm not really good with my accent, but they repeated it, and it was just nice that students that aren't Filipino, they're learning a different language, and they're learning about what respect means. So
Amazing.
now we have 43 books, and our goal is 80. So
Oh, you're halfway and it's just not even 1 month.
yes,
Amazing.
we did fundraise $1,200 that day, and half of that went
Amazing.
to Saigon Social, because Saigon Social, they experienced a fire, but they're also reopening on June 1st, and then the other half goes to the books. But I also purchased some little gummy snacks for the kids yesterday, so they were able to try, just a little bit about like Asian culture. So they tried like lychee gummies. So, and they really liked it. They were like, "Do you have any more?" So
So
I got.
that's also like a way to purchase from local entrepreneurs, and
Oh,
so
we
so
did.
win-win thing.
We got the gummy candies from Southeast New York City, which is also located in the Lower East Side, and it's
Mhm.
Filipino owned.
That's so
So
good.
it's
Like,
it's perfect.
interrelatedness.
Hmm.
I salute you for doing that. Keep doing it.
Yeah. And then we just released a new coloring book. I don't know if you heard about our old coloring book, but this was the cover last time. Oops, there's two.
Who made it? Who's
So
who's the artist?
let me look at a different cover. But so this was our first coloring
Oh,
book, and it's called
uh-huh.
Hold On, Pain Ends. And this was a project that I started with a Filipino artist, AJ
Mhm.
Lavilla. And we
Also in New York?
did, and what we did during the pandemic, he was actually stuck in Iloilo.
Oh,
And I approached lots of different people about this idea, like, we're going to be isolated. Why don't we do a coloring book? And so many people laughed in my face.
oh.
Personally, I wanted to do this coloring book because I was experiencing a lot of loss during
Mm.
that time, like right before the pandemic started. I was engaged to be married, and
Oh,
um, I it didn't work out. So
oh.
I was facing a time when I was told, don't hang out with anyone, you can't see
Which is for
anyone,
the better.
and I had to like live by myself. And it
Mm.
was scary because
Oh,
when you're going through such an emotional um incident in your life, you need support, you need to be around people.
yes.
And for me, like
I'm
I came
sorry to
from,
hear that, but look at you.
right.
You have spread your wings.
So I,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm definitely extroverted. I need to be around people. And that's
Mhm.
why I was thinking, it would be great if we did have a coloring book, so that way people that were frustrated, there's going to be a lot of mental health issues. That's what I thought. And I
Yes.
approached different people. And when I spoke to AJ Lavilla, who actually, he's one of the mural artists at my school,
Mm.
he was really receptive to the idea, and we worked on it together online because he was in Iloilo and I was here. But we
Yes.
made a really nice impact because some of the pages were done by Filipinos in London, and in different parts of the
Congratulations.
country. So like this was one of the pieces. Like it has like the stamp
Uh-huh.
and the
Corned beef,
sun.
spam.
And there was like another artist. He did this like at the
So where
time
did you
for clothes.
um share those comics? I mean, those coloring books.
We distributed them to a lot of my students. We posted them online. We also had printed copies. My cousin, he um, printed them for us for free, and it was such a like everyone was really excited about our project, especially
Mhm.
the children, because I had students who I wasn't able to see, but I was able to give them a coloring book. It was also made available online, and
Don't you not want to network with Filipino teachers who are teaching in the US? There
yeah,
are a lot of groups
it would be great to do that.
because they would love, like, this professional support materials that could help.
And we actually did, and but because we had a lot of success with our
Mhm.
past project, we released another coloring book, and
Amazing.
we actually have our coloring book release party this Thursday at the
Mhm.
Breakers in Williamsburg, where we will be giving out another coloring book for free to anyone that wants one. And we got it sponsored by GMA Pinoy TV, and we have a lot of different artists that have contributed to it. Again, it's free, because this is a community effort. So
You're so amazing. I have to clap my hands for what you're doing.
yeah, I mean, it's
Gosh.
because I was selfish actually, because I was the one that was going through pain. Um,
Mm,
so I thought about turning pain into action. But it also coincidentally, when we
perfect.
released our first coloring book, like my coworker, she was the first DOE teacher to pass away from COVID during the
Oh,
pandemic, and then my other coworker died 3 days later, basically.
oh,
So
so sorry.
it was just very heartbreaking, but I was lucky that AJ was so receptive, and he said, "Let's do it. Let's do this coloring book." So that was good.
So AJ or EJ? AJ,
Oh, his name is AJ Lavilla. So you would
he
see
is still
him.
in the Philippines
No,
or
he's
Iloilo?
well now he's in New York, but
Ah,
you'll
okay.
find his murals. You'll find his murals in the Lower East Side.
Oh, okay. I would love if you could send me some photos and I could put it when I write about our conversation. And then
Yeah.
it comes out too.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Deirdre. It's really wonderful to be inspired by you and what you're doing in the community. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much also to DJ Chinita or Oji for being your partner
Oh yeah, she's
in
very
all the
supportive.
projects. Thank you, and I hope to see you around.
Okay.
And let me show this, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up. Awesome at 10 is 10 years old and is already available at Cabicero Cafe. So take a look. Thank you, Deirdre, and all the best to you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So remember to support local journalism. Please purchase a copy or a lot of copies of Awesome at 10, which is celebrating its 10th year of local journalism here in New York. So this has been Marivir, and thank you again, Deirdre, for that very inspiring conversation with you a while ago. And till the next episode, be careful, stay safe, and be happy. Bye bye for now.